program follows the president's daily activities, highlighting the key events that shaped Zimbabwe this past week. This is Keeping Up with ED, and it starts now. Today, we'll delve into some of the most significant moments from the past week, including Heroes and Defense Forces Day celebrations, the prestigious SADC summit hosted by Zimbabwe, and of course, the biggest highlight as President Mnangagwa assumed chairmanship of SADC. Let's get straight into business. This past week, Zimbabwe commemorated Heroes and Defense Forces Day. Veterans of the liberation struggle and outstanding individuals were honored for their humanitarian acts. Musical performances and military displays filled the air, fostering a spirit of patriotism. President Mnangagwa addressed the nation, praising Zimbabweans for maintaining peace, a vital ingredient for progress. He also commended the security forces for their unwavering commitment to national security.
I commend Zimbabwe Defense Forces for keeping alive the rich liberation ethos, as well as the intricate principles and values deployed at the establishment of a united security apparatus in 1980. Equally, your defense of our national interests as embodied in our national constitution over the years has been exemplary and unflinching. The formidability, reliability, and dependability, professionalism, and discipline of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces remain the guarantor of the peace and security necessary for the development, modernization, industrialization, and prosperity of our motherland, Zimbabwe.
Now, following the Heroes and Defense Forces Day celebrations, Zimbabwe transitioned into hosting the prestigious 44th SADC Summit. President Mnangagwa delivered a thought-provoking public lecture at the University of Zimbabwe, urging SADC member states to tap into their own resources and educational potential to drive industrialization, rather than relying solely on external aid. A key takeaway from the lecture was the president's emphasis on youth development.
We must therefore transform the educational space to produce innovators and industrialists equipped with the skills and competencies that develop products to meet the needs of our people. In Zimbabwe, our heritage-based Education 5.0 philosophy embraces research, innovation, and industrialization as important mandates for all levels of the education sector. Memorizing Shakespeare does not produce products or services. We should focus on our God-given natural and cultural endowments to drive development. The appropriate research and innovation are fundamental to the advancement of both our domestic and regional development agenda.
President Mnangagwa toured exhibitions showcasing the innovation of 30 institutions and the recently established vehicle number plates manufacturing plant. He spoke about the immense benefits of fostering a culture of innovation among young people.
I'm now aware that our university is producing number plates for the nation. It's a technology we didn't have in the past. We now have the technology, and it's being based here at the university. And I'm happy that we are doing it ourselves. Those are tribute. I'm happy also that the exhibitions show the innovativeness of our young generation. From stand to stand, you could see young people standing there, having produced products that were not there before, but as a result of innovation and allowing our young people to dream, they are producing products for us.
Several SADC leaders paid courtesy calls on President Mnangagwa, expressing interest in collaborating in agriculture, renewable energy, and other sectors. They pledged their full support to Zimbabwe as it assumes the SADC chairmanship, confident in President Mnangagwa's leadership.
There are some few sectors where we have agreed to cooperate. Firstly, being agriculture, renewable energy, education, and many other more. But those are the critical ones that we are going to start with, starting from now. So we are looking forward for this to be implemented as soon as yesterday. And we are also going to be working together as Africans and try and see how we can make Africa a better place for us all.
Zimbabwe has been very, very helpful, supportive, and has always worked in solidarity with the Namibian people. We remember the time of the struggle, but also the current history between our two countries. During the COVID period, Zimbabwe was able to use its own transport means, its own planes, to deliver the COVID medicine to Namibia from here and even from far away as far as China. When we lost our president, our late president, Dr. Hage Gottfried Geingob, Zimbabwe was there with us. I expect a very dynamic leadership from President Mnangagwa.
And we talked family business, and so how best we can serve our people and how best we can respond, even as I gave him congratulations ahead of time because he's now going to chair SADC. So, my expectation is that we will continue to rally behind our leadership as a region so that the regional integration agenda becomes a reality. And you can do that with the innovation emphasis and the industrialization emphasis, and for us to be able to trade amongst ourselves the best of all.
The 44th SADC Summit unfolded at the new Parliament building in Mount Hapton. Upon receiving the instruments of office, President Mnangagwa assumed the chairmanship of the SADC region. He stressed the importance of collective effort and innovation to accelerate industrialization and regional integration.
It has become critically important and urgent to harness the potential of innovation to produce goods and services through value addition and beneficiation of our rich mineral and related natural resources.
The SADC summit concluded with a call for unity. President Mnangagwa emphasized the importance of building upon the existing foundation of unity established in 1980 to ensure the successful implementation of the industrialization agenda.
The democracy, independence and freedom being enjoyed by the peoples of the region were paid for through the sweat, tears and the blood of yesteryear heroes and heroines, as well as sons and daughters of SADC. We have a sacred duty to honor them all by jealously guarding and defending our sovereignty and the right to economic self-determination as a people.
Following the summit, SADC Executive Secretary Elias Mahosi read aloud the official communique outlining the key decisions and agreements reached by the member states.
Summit reiterated the call made at the 39th SADC Summit for the unconditional removal of sanctions imposed on the Republic of Zimbabwe and acknowledged that the sanctions continue to hinder the progress and prosperity of the people of the Republic of Zimbabwe and the SADC region. Summit took note of the entering into force of the agreement establishing the tripartite free trade area among the common markets for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, the East African Community, EAC, and SADC on the 25th July 2024, providing opportunities for SADC member states to tap into an expanded market of 26 countries. Summit adopted and signed the Declaration on Protection of Persons with Albinism, signifying the collective resolve of SADC member states to take necessary measures at the regional and national levels to address the challenges faced by persons with albinism. Summit also noted the mpox situation on the continent and in the SADC region, the declaration by the World Health Organization of mpox as a public health emergency of international concern, the declaration of mpox as a public health emergency of continental security by Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, respectively, and urged member states to strengthen disease surveillance, diagnostic, testing, and clinical care, infection prevention and control, as well as awareness raising of the disease at all levels of the community.
To solidify existing ties among member states, President Mnangagwa hosted a state banquet for the visiting SADC leaders. He reiterated the region's shared aspirations and commitment to safeguarding its rich liberation heritage.
As neighbors, brothers and sisters, we share a special relationship premised on our common historical and cultural affinities, as well as through family and other ties, including our common borders and ideologies. In spite of being geographically and politically different jurisdictions, we are one people, united under SADC with common aspirations and an intricately linked future. Our fraternal bonds are deep and glued together by the precious blood of our heroes and heroines who fought for our liberation, our independence, our freedom. Some of their remains lie in unknown graves in our respective countries. In their honor, we shall defend our rich liberation heritage. SADC shall forever remain united and indivisible.
President Mnangagwa, accompanied by his deputies, led a tour of the Geopomona Waste-to-Energy project in Harare. Visiting leaders, including King Mswati III of Eswatini, President Mokgweetsi Masisi of Botswana, and President Andre Rajoelina of Madagascar, were also present. The president highlighted the project's significance in both energy production and effective waste management strategies.
Illegal dumping of waste coupled with the improper disposal of highly hazardous chemicals also exacerbates the risk of negative health and environmental consequences to our people and future generations. For Zimbabwe, this background necessitated the adoption of robust and responsive models that enable local authorities to sustainably manage waste. The establishment of comprehensive frameworks for effective chemical management, disposal of waste for environmental renewal and protection have led to the vast innovations, including in the renewable energy space. We are now generating electricity here from the waste which was here.
The delegation then proceeded to the Museum of African Liberation, popularly known as the Liberation City. Speaking at the groundbreaking ceremony for the SADC Liberation Square, President Mnangagwa emphasized the responsibility of the African countries to reclaim their true history, which has often been distorted to suit the narrative of former colonizers.
We are aware that the history of our continent has been and continues to be deliberately distorted to suit the parochial interests of our former erstwhile colonial masters. It is the responsibility of our generation to ensure that this important phase in the history of our continent is accurately documented and secured. It is time that we set the record straight. Otherwise, history will judge our generation harshly for having watched with disinterest while our history is being falsified.
Keeping up with ED takes a short break. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Welcome back. This is Keeping Up with ED. a leader who leads by example. The magnificent work done at the Precabe farm shows that His Excellency President Mnangagwa is a real man of action, a man who is taking a leading role in feeding his people in the era of El Nino-induced droughts, which have affected most parts of the southern.
I am flabbergasted. I could never have imagined that what I hear and read about, I would see. But this is it. It's a real food. The granaries are overflowing, and I believe it. What I'm proud about is that there's a president who feeds people. He doesn't just feed Zimbabweans, he feeds Africa. So what he speaks about is what he does. And I'm just absolutely in awe, literally. So I have a lot to say when I get home. You know, we're also transitioning, you know, between the outlook and priorities of different leaders. My predecessor was big in conservation, you know, etc., which went beyond, in my view, went beyond the areas where animals should be conserved. So it shooted into areas which were reserved for animal husbandry and even crop production. But we need to increase the crop production side. And we've been doing that. You know of our big irrigation project in Silibwe Pikwe, where we produce citrus. We're going to evacuate more than 70,000 tons per year of citrus. And that's why we're going to be seeing Schweppes to see if we can come and, you know, juice here, because they have a juicing plant. And we have big irrigation projects, like in the Tuli, like I said, at Talana. And there's a new one that started near Dam, near Bobonong. We're going to be evacuating water from Chobe to Panamatenge, so we do more irrigation. But we're constrained by water. We don't have as much water. We need to learn. I mean, we're producing potatoes now in places that we didn't typically produce them, in Khanzi. Potatoes, not sweet potatoes. But what has totally taken me aback when I was talking to Patrick was the yield here. 65 to 70 tons per hectare. He expects in this 30 hectares to harvest more than 110,000 hectares of potatoes. Tons.
Yeah, no problems. This is normal. This is normal.
To visit many places in Zimbabwe. I'm still going to go to Champion. I'm going to go to Schweppes, right? And I can't wait to go and see the livestock now. That's where that we can exchange notes.
That's a bit of livestock from you.
Yes.
Yeah, but you are keeping them better than you do.
You're right.
From yourself.
Yes. I believe it, Your Excellency. This is intensive. It's intensive. You're doing a good job.
And that's the
young lady.
The young lady. She's
Yes.
the agronomist. She's the boss.
You know, when at home, if so many people came without even taking the numbers, they would have voted out.
So this is the Ampole wood, or Inyambo. It originates from Rwanda. So they came last year. When they came, they were 70, and now we are 38. They are at 38. And in terms of adaptability, they've adapted quite well. We do our dosing, dripping, vaccination, just the normal way we do also our cows which are here.
Do you milk them?
Yes, we just train them so that they become healthy. We milk here and there just to train them so that they continue being friendly. For the value, we're starting from $65,000 up to $300,000.
Per cow.
Yes, for the mature. Yes. And in terms of who owns, like we said, it's for sentimental value, kingship. We have Bruce. He recently acquired them when he came to visit and saw ours. And we have the president of Rwanda, we have the president of South Africa, we have Eswatini. So it's mainly within from
No,
where.
and the president of Uganda.
Yes, and President
You have
Yoweri
this?
Museveni.
No, we don't have it. I don't know anybody has in Botswana. I don't think anybody has it.
Impressive, to be honest. When the president invited me to the farm, I didn't expect to see this. When he said he's producing for the nation and he's producing wheat and for the nation and barley, I didn't expect to see this. This is an example of leadership, not just leadership by perhaps pronouncing policy. He's actually a leader who's doing it to lead people and to show people that it can be done. Can you imagine a first citizen tilling the land and producing, and then who else will not rally behind him and do exactly what he's doing? So,
but this is just a small thing. It's just say 500 hectares of wheat and barley. There are 125,000 of this across the country.
Yeah. First, it is just the principle of him making the statement and then leading. And then you've got all those other things. It goes back to the principle that Zimbabwe used to have, that it was the breadbasket of Africa. And when I met him 3 months ago, he said, we are almost 80% to going back to where Zimbabwe was. So this is very good. And I think it's a learning for other member states in our region to also see this and try to do. The advantage that I think Zimbabwe has is water. As President Masisi was saying, if you go into Botswana and Namibia, there is less water. But you still have places in those countries where crops and other things can still be produced.
Yeah, just keep going. Keep going. You're feeding more, it's more equitable. You're doing far much more with less and for many more. And that's democratizing land use.
With all the work and production we saw, indeed one can see that the Nyika inova kwanevene vayo ilizwe lakiwa ngabanikazi balo mantra is attainable and the way to go. We take a short break. Join us in the third and final segment of Keeping Up with AD. Welcome back to Keeping Up with ED. We're now joined by the chairman of the Pan-African organization, that is the African Cause, Mr. Elton Ziki. Elton, it's good to have you on Keeping Up with ED.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. Now, on this show, we follow the president's diaries, we follow his appointments, and we link that to Vision 2030. And key amongst all is what the president, in terms of his vision, is trying to do and has been doing and is passionate about. What are the things that you believe set apart His Excellency?
I think the cut of His Excellency is one above the rest in terms of his approach to issues of livelihood and betterment of the standard of living of the people of this country. We've witnessed ever since the advent of the Second Republic, after his assumption to the presidency, after an election that saw him being elected and given a mandate to run for the next 5 years. The first thing that I noticed in terms of his acumen, in terms of his approach, in terms of the pedigree and approach to business, is that His Excellency was one individual who showed so much passionate about hard work. He's a workaholic, and even in the first republic, the former president R.G. Mugabe referred and likened Comrade E.D., His Excellency, Comrade E.D. Mnangagwa, to a workaholic, a worker who delivers results. And this is what we have seen. We have seen the immense rise of Zimbabwe in terms of the infrastructure development that has taken place in the very shortest possible period of time after his assumption to duty. We've also seen how he's always been an ardent and avid worker, regardless of the day of the week. Even if it is a Sunday, you would see His Excellency putting shoulder to wheel. So this is something that has resonated over the past term and this current term, which is the second term constitutionally. And you would see that even the performance of his ministers, his immediate peers, the cabinet, which forms the executive, that there were 100-day cycles of deliverables, of work that has been done. There's been this monitoring and appraisal of performance by the public sector. And slowly but surely is instilled this culture of hard work and honest, dedicated work.
I like it when you start talking about that, and then you see his usual statement, the common adage, Nyika inovakwa nevene vayo.
Nyika inovakwa nevene vayo. And for that to happen, we must be, as citizens, be avid and ardent workers that put shoulder to wheel, so that we are on, our heads are on the plow all the time. We are looking
at the aspect of work is something that is key to his heart. It
is key to his heart because at any given juncture and point in time and at various platforms and forums, you will see His Excellency extolling his citizens, us as his citizens, to value the essence of hard work, to value the essence of delivery, to make sure that at the end of the day, what do we have as deliverables? That's why we had this 100-day ministerial government cycle to monitor government projects. That's why he brought about the element of appraisals and seeing performance-based contracts being signed, which was not the case during the First Republic. You must also be aware that the First Republic really did not invest in making sure that we keep abreast in terms of upgrading and servicing our infrastructure. But His Excellency, Comrade E.D., took that heavy load to say to us in the first years of austerity, we have to buckle up our belts and make sure that we are going to have a very difficult time, but in order for us to reap the fruits. And now, barely 6 or 7 years down the line, we can afford to smile. We can afford to point to an economy that is stable for a very long time. Remember the inflationary periods. But His Excellency Comrade E.D. has done away with issues of volatile economic conditions that have existed prior to the Second Republic. We have seen massive infrastructure of world-class standard that we now drive our cars on. We've seen also investment in education, investment in health, investment in the primary issues of production, the massive dam construction that has taken place, the massive power generation that has taken place. So these are the ideals and tenets and characteristics of His Excellency.
It's also exemplary by Precabe farm. You find that the delegates that were coming in for the SADC summit, the heads of state and government also commended his work on the farm. Is that a testament?
It's a testament. His Excellency is one individual that all of us can take a leaf from. We can learn so much from his encyclopedic approach to life and governance issues. He's also an individual that understands the day-to-day lives of the people. And he has taken to heart to make sure that even as civil servants that are employed by government, their welfare is catered for and has been looked into. And gradually and slowly, incrementally, but surely we are getting there. The work that he has done will give us the opportunity to keep shining. And for him, in assuming also the SADC chairship, you'll see that this model of Zimbabwean renaissance and growth that has been championed by His Excellency Comrade Mnangagwa will also be evident in the 16-member states in Southern Africa.
I like it when you say renaissance. During the public lecture, he spoke glowingly and passionately about youth empowerment, something that we've seen take a new shape during the Second Republic.
I think, in terms of expression, I would say that the powerhouse that His Excellency is, in terms of being a workhorse, is quite magnificent. It's jaw-dropping, to say the least. There is no day that His Excellency is not putting shoulder to wheel. And that approach to acceptance of all issues, the whole of government and the whole of governance approach that His Excellency always speaks about, this is what he does. He doesn't leave anyone behind. The young people, the women, but he's also so passionate about young people. He's not leaving them behind. So his mantra, his adage, leaving no one and no place behind. You'll see that even in governance, the provincial devolution affairs in terms of making sure that administrative and financial matters are devolved to provinces. This is how visionary His Excellency is in terms of being futuristic. He is going to be a leader that is going to stay etched on in the hearts of many, because he is loved. That's why in some quarters say E.D. Wuchi.
Yeah.
It's not a lie.
Yeah.
It's true that His Excellency Comrade E.D. Mnangagwa has made life sweeter for the people of Zimbabwe. And it's going to be sweeter as we approach 2030, as he's aiming for an upper, prosperous middle income economy by 2030. And this is an all-encompassing approach to say the economy must be functioning well and well-oiled. The standard of living for all the people must be something that is acceptable. The average earnings of a person per year are some of the issues that is also looking into. So we are looking at a very broad, gigantic, huge approach to issues of work and delivery to lift the lives of the people of Zimbabwe out of poverty into a prosperous upper middle income status by 2030. Having said that, and to that effect, you would want also to pay attention to the fact that His Excellency is a man who does not accept or tolerate or even pay attention to pet issues. You've seen that where people want him to respond to issues that are not related to the upliftment of Zimbabwe, you've seen His Excellency always being quiet and as soft as wool, as a listening president.
But he's a strategic man who has a plan for this country through Vision 2030.
I think the elemented issue of strategy is one that sets him above the rest in terms of his cut. His Excellency is a very strategic man in terms of his psyche, in terms of his thinking, in terms of his vision. He's a man that can tolerate issues. He's a man that can direct issues to go a particular way. So you can't do that if you're not strategic. You can't take out the country with a very astronomical inflation figure and stabilize it, and later on make it prosper if you're not strategic. Exactly. He's a key strategist. He's the chief strategist of this country.
Elton Ziki, chairperson of the Pan-African Movement, the African Cause. Thank you so much.
And that is it for Keeping Up with ED, where we do nothing but follow the President's diaries and appointments as he executes Vision 2030, which is towards a prosperous and empowered upper middle income society by 2030, with job opportunities and a high quality of life for its citizens. I'm Mungu. Thank you so much for watching.